You're listening to the IT Career Energizer podcast, episode 21.
Welcome to the IT Career Energizer podcast. For anyone who wants to build and grow a career in IT, develop and improve your strengths and skills, be inspired and motivated by the successes of others, manage your career progression, and achieve your IT career goals. And now, your host, Phil Burgess.
Hi, Phil here, and welcome to the IT Career Energizer podcast, where I chat with inspiring IT professionals, consultants, and experts every week. To find out more about the podcast, visit itcareerenergizer.com. And now let's chat with today's featured guest, David Rael. David describes himself as a dad, problem solver, software creator, and productivity expert. David is also host of the podcast Developer on Fire, which he started in 2015 as a way of stepping outside of his comfort zone. So David, maybe you can expand on that brief bio.
Absolutely. So, the first thing that comes to mind, well, it is the first thing in the bio as well, is I'm a dad, right? That is the thing that consumes most of my thoughts and most of my being while I'm not writing code or talking to developers. So that's just what I love to do. I remember at one point I had a coworker told me that he couldn't lose any weight because the people he hung around with on the weekends caused him to drink too much beer. And my response was, well, the people I hang around with on the weekends cause me to eat too many animal crackers. So that's kind of, my kids are a lot older now, and that's not the case anymore. But that's really the thing that's the biggest deal to me, whether it's coaching my kids' soccer teams or I suppose it'd be football for most of the world, and just enjoying them and having experiences with my kids. That's the thing that just gets me going more than anything else.
Yeah. Can you share with us a unique career tip that the IT Career Energizer audience need to know and probably don't?
Well, I think there's probably several things several directions I could go here. One is simply just take action, right? That's the thing that really held me back the longest time in my career, was that I had all of these things to offer to the community, and I kept telling myself I should be giving talks at conferences, I should be blogging, I should be doing something to put some value out into the community, and yet I would go down to the office, come home, drink a beer, watch a game, and that was the extent of it. And take action, right? Do something. Get yourself out there is probably the biggest thing that I can share. And related to that is punch fear in the face. That's kind of been my mantra since I started doing the podcast, is that, I've been afraid to put myself in front of people, to interact with humans. I keep saying it over and over again that I told myself this story that I was good at machines but not good at humans, and that limited me so much. And when I finally decided that, no, I can talk to humans, even if they are programmers whose humanity might be questionable sometimes, right? But just interacting with humans, it's a big deal, and step out of that comfort zone, like the bio said as well, is such a big deal, right? It's easy to say I'm a programmer, I turn requirements into code, but that's really selling ourselves short. So that I think that's probably my biggest career tip, is to take action, go for it, and don't let your fear hold you back.
Sure. Do you think people tend to think about their careers very much, I suppose, limited in terms of what they look at? If these are my responsibilities for what I'm supposed to do at work, that is all I will do. They don't look beyond those boundaries.
I think that's true, whether it's in the office itself, where you have a suggestion for maybe a way that a process could work better, or a way that a business could do something differently, and instead you say, well, that's not really my place, right? I'm here to deliver some feature. You sell yourself short, and you sell the business that you serve short. So I think that is absolutely something that holds back a lot of tech professionals who think that, hey, I have a special expertise, and the things outside of that are not in my wheelhouse. Well, you know what? You're as human as anybody else, and just get out there and do it.
Yeah. Can you tell us about your worst IT career moment and what you learned from that experience?
So I think that I've had some really ugly experiences in the office. Some things, there's some of my coworkers, we used to call it the day the database died, right? When there was, the database went down, there were no good backups, and just the 18-hour days for 3 days straight that ensued to try to recover that thing. And I think that's a place I could go to tell you about that. But I think even more fundamental than that, even more tragic, right? I mean, I think what I told you more about my personal life and myself, right? I centered it on my kids, and I think that's really important. And there was a time when I kind of lost sight of that. I was working a full-time job as a software architect, and I was designing a system and doing a lot of implementation and working on these things. And I also had this side project that I was working on where I was trying to create a business of my own and do some of those things. And I got so consumed with doing those things that I would go put in a full day at work, and then I would come home and sit down in front of my PC at home and just keep writing code and trying to make this side thing work. Yeah. And it took my mom intervening, right? My mom had to have the guts to tell me, dude, you're messing up, right? She told me that I was not giving my kids the attention that they needed. And, it's one thing to know that I did that, right? That I was letting my kids not be the focus of my life. But for it to have to come from somebody else, right? That I put my mom in the position where she felt like she needed to step out and do that, and not knowing how I was going to react, right? That is, it's a painful thing for me to think that I could have lost my priorities in that way. So I think that's probably my lowest moment was that I put software ahead of my family, and that it's a shameful thing, but I think it's a lesson that I've learned and take forward, and I really want to make sure that my kids matter to me.
Sure. So how did you rebalance your priorities? What did you do?
Well, I think the wake-up call really was my mom, right? I mean, that was the big thing, and realizing that, hey, somebody else is observing that I was completely out of whack. The other thing, too, was that I started to feel some burnout in this cycle of that I just wanted to deliver. And ultimately, I started to, I had really never slipped any dates on anything before. And then I started having I just wasn't getting things done. And so it really, I don't know, it may have been the burnout more than anything that finally caused me to just say, you know what, this is not worth it at all. And I had to let this side project just go and let it slide. And then, I mean, it was still hard to go to the office and do the regular job. But that was, once I stopped just, spending every waking moment on trying to make this website work, then, just it got a little bit of space and some air to breathe. And I really was able to appreciate, the family life again.
Yeah. Moving on from your worst moment, can you share with us your IT career highlight or greatest success, and how you were able to achieve that?
So, I think there's several examples here of things that could happen, right? Delivering projects on short schedules, some artificial timelines that seemed impossible at the time. I think those are huge successes. But I think the thing that really is the biggest thing in my career is podcasting, right? Yeah. That I took action, that I went out there and I decided that there was something that I wanted, right? I wanted to have a podcast that was about software professionals, but not about software itself. I wanted to hear something that told the stories of programmers and kind of shared the human side, the human element, focused on delivering value and really just featuring programmers and showing that they are people sharing, their lessons and experiences. It wasn't there. And I kind of took, the advice of Gandhi to heart, right? That be the change that you want to see in the world. And I went out there and created it. And, I've, gone from 0 subscribers, right, in the beginning, that I was just speaking into a microphone and hoping that somebody would one day listen. Really, my intent in the whole thing was not to become a known name or anything like that. I just wanted to toil in a little less anonymity and just kind of see where it goes. Yeah. And, now I've got this community built up around the show, and people tell me that it matters what I do, right? I've received emails from people saying that, that they wanted to quit software, and that just listening to some of the stories on my show turned their career around, right? And it's got them out of that ugly place where they just didn't like their job anymore, and got them lit up again to do the things that they do. And to hear things like that, it's so rewarding. And I went to Oslo for a conference last year, not this summer, but last summer, and as I came off the stage giving my talk, a woman came up from the crowd and wanted to take a picture with me, right? And it's just, it's just remarkable for things like that to be happening to me, right? To have told myself all this time that I'm not so good with humans, and to find out, what, that was wrong, right? That story that I told myself was a lie. And it's really rewarding. I've had people recognize me based on my voice and my manner of speaking and things like that, and it's just it's so cool. It's really just a neat achievement to expose myself to the criticism. And I've received some pretty harsh criticism as well, right? And listening to that. But all in all, it really is the thing that I'm probably most proud of putting out there, is that I have created this thing. And it's not all about me too, right? I mean, it's a collaboration with a lot of amazing geeks. And it's just so nice to make the connections that I have with people. And it's so rewarding.
Yeah. What's the one thing that excites you about the future of a career in IT?
Well, I think the thing that's really cool these days is how the gatekeepers are slowly being just removed, right? It used to be that if you wanted to work in software, you had to go find a company that had a mainframe, and there's time sharing and all of this stuff. And as time evolves, right, the PC revolution and all of these things, and nowadays with startups and with people just creating open source software from their own home, it seems that the ever trending evolution in software is more toward democratization, right? That it is accessible to anybody, and you don't need fancy IDEs. You don't need, you need, a browser that can interpret JavaScript and a text editor, and you can write software. And it's really absolutely fantastic that for free, right? The price of a laptop is really all you need to be able to get into software. I think it's absolutely just thrilling. I think beyond that too, the accessibility of programming. There's this thing that I like to give talks in some presentations, and to bring up on the podcast every now and then, that these services like IFTTT, If This Then That, Zapier, Microsoft's got one called Flow, that enable that end users can orchestrate flows where an event in one service, like a new row in a spreadsheet in Google Docs, will trigger an event that can cause an email to be sent, or it can put something on your calendar, or so just these crazy things that you can orchestrate your own workflows. It's programming, right? You respond to an event by taking an action, and it makes it accessible to anybody in the world that they can create a software system, rudimentary, of course. Right? You're limited in what you can do with these things, but it makes accessible to everyone the idea that you can instruct the machine to do something based on some input. And I think it's just really exciting that people are able to leverage machines in ways that they never have before, and it just keeps getting better.
Yeah, I do. I agree with that, definitely. Okay, we're going to move into the reveal round. So what first attracted you to a career in IT?
That's interesting. I think in the beginning, it was an accident. I studied physics in college, and I wound up needing a job. And in 1999, they would hire anybody who had a pulse to write software. It was the .com bubble, right? Or I guess this was the boom before the bubble burst, right? So it was kind of an accident that I got a software job. Although in retrospect, some of my favorite parts of school were when I would write programs to simulate planetary motion, or some of the things that I did in physics that were coding were some of my favorite parts. I don't know why I didn't realize earlier that this was really something for me.
Okay. What is the best career advice you've ever received?
Aslak Hilisoy came on my show. He's the creator of Cucumber, and he said something that I think about it all the time. He basically told me that he had this shower epiphany the day that we were doing the podcast episode, and he said, "Test your understanding." And I was blown away that is that was the thing he said, because it really gets to the heart of everything, right? I mean, it's life, the universe, and everything. It's core to the principles of behavior-driven development that you are trying to collaborate with domain owners to really know what the software is supposed to do. But it's also so fundamental to human interaction that when somebody says something to you, well, try to understand what they meant by it and verify, restate it in your own words to get buy-in that, hey, we're talking about the same thing. Fundamental. Great advice.
Yeah. If you were to begin your IT career again right now, what would you do?
Well, I think the lesson I've learned is that I should get myself in front of people immediately. So I think that would mean blogging and podcasting. That's something that I did not do in the beginning. And from knowing what I know now, I should have been doing that from day one or day zero.
What career objectives are you focusing on right now?
Right now, I have come to this shocking realization that I think I like podcasting more than I like writing code, which is something I never would have expected before. So I think at this moment, I'm trying to shift from being a professional developer and hobbyist content producer to flipping that, and that my career is in podcasting and in creating content for people, and that I can write code on the side. It's kind of terrifying to think that might be my future, but I think that's where I'm thinking I want to go.
Do you think you're near that tipping point now?
Maybe. I'm trying to experiment with some new ways. At this point, the sponsorship and patronage that I have on the podcast is not really coming close to paying my bills yet. But I think I have some other ideas that might close that gap, including doing a remote conference. Is kind of the thing that I'm really lit up on right now. Is this idea? I kind of stole the idea from Joe Colantonio of the Test Talks podcast. He did a remote conference and really delivered an awesome experience for people. And I want to do something like that and hopefully be rewarded in return and maybe try to make this dream of being a professional content producer more real.
What's the number one non-technical skill that has helped you in your career to date?
A month ago, I probably wouldn't have told you this, but I think empathy. Right? I think that a lot of people recently have talked a lot about empathy. It's become kind of a popular buzzword. And until just a few weeks ago, I would have said it's out of my reach. It's out of my grasp. I can reason through what other people are feeling, but I can't really feel it. Andrea Goulet came on my podcast, and she told me about cognitive empathy, which is really that thing that I was talking about, that you can use your reason to try to understand where somebody else is coming from, and that's empathy too. And I think I've come to the realization that while I don't intuitively feel the things that other people do, I am really good at trying to put myself in other people's shoes and to gain understanding that way. So I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent skill to be able to develop. I think understanding of somebody else's perspective and what it means to them is key to a successful career in IT.
Yeah, IT and otherwise, right? Especially in a world that has just gone mad with the way that people, do not like each other anymore because they disagree on some topic. I think, trying to just come to a place where even if we can't agree on things, we can try to understand that there are valid reasons why we think the things we think. I think it goes a long way.
Yes. Can you share a parting piece of career advice with the IT Career Energizer audience?
So I think I would go back to the idea of comfort is the enemy of growth, which is something that I've said many times on my podcast, on my show, and just sharing advice with people that if you are doing the same things you've always done, you fall into those patterns of comfort, like I did with my career, right? I stayed in the same job for 9 years, which, there were a lot of opportunities for me to grow there, but at some point along that spectrum, right, 9 years was too long, and I needed to make a move just to get outside and try something different. So if you're doing the same things over and over again, maybe it's time to shake it up a little bit, right? Get out of that local maximum and try to find a new peak to scale. So get out there, punch fear in the face, and get a little uncomfortable. It's good for you.
Yeah. And finally, what's the best way we can find out more about you and connect with you?
Well, developeronfire.com is really the home for everything.
Yes.
I used to have a blog on a different site, and the podcast was there. Now I've moved it all under that place. So I'm Rael Yard on Twitter. I don't really tweet a whole lot. It mostly just shares the new podcast episodes, and I respond when people tweet at me, but I don't really do a whole lot of keeping up. But it is a good place to get in contact with me, and please subscribe to the show. Right? I mean, the Developer on Fire, sharing the stories of the humanity of software geeks, much like what you're doing, Phil. Right? I mean, it's really not all that different. It's the soft part of our careers that there's this podcaster named Jordan. Jordan Harbinger. He has this podcast called Art of Charm, which started as kind of a guys trying to pick up girls podcast, which was not that appealing. But it's much deeper than that too. And he talks about how it's not what you know, it's who you know, and that's lucky for us. And I never really got that, but I think I'm starting to realize a little bit what he's talking about. That connections are the things that are rewarding in our lives, and beyond just the ways that people can benefit you, it's really just deep and meaningful when you get to connect with people. And so, I think that's really special.
David, thank you so much for being on the IT Career Energizer podcast. It's been great having a chat with you.
Well, you're welcome, Phil, and thank you as well.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's great interview with David Rael as much as I did. Full show notes can be found on the website at itcareerenergizer.com/E21. And while you're at the website, you can download your free copy of 11 top career tips for IT professionals, many of which have been previously discussed on the show. In next week's episode, I'll be talking with Thomas LaRock, head geek at SolarWinds. If you haven't done so already, please remember to subscribe in iTunes or Stitcher to get future episodes automatically downloaded to your device. And if you're enjoying the podcast, I'd really appreciate you leaving a rating and review in iTunes or Stitcher about the show. So until next Monday, have a great week.
Thanks for listening to the IT Career Energizer podcast. To find out more about building a successful career in IT, visit itcareerenergizer.com.